Welcome everyone to the Kendall Report. I'm sorry about last night, still rebuilding the studio. So I saw somebody say they waited till midnight, no video. You have to follow me on Twitter. It's the only place I have to. I guess I could have posted it on YouTube. But anyway, welcome everyone. Lots going on here in this room. A complete remodel, as I've been telling you about. Should have a big reveal by the end of the week. I'm hoping to have the final touches on this place. There's a lot going on here yet tomorrow. It's taking longer to get done than I thought, but it's all about improving everything that I'm doing here. And I'm excited about this. It's been an exhausting project. The last 7 days have just been crazy here. So anyway, thanks again for your patience. There's a lot is happening here. Just so get this out of the way for the moment, is that there is, I guess, a major makeover happening with the channel, with everything I'm doing. So I'm hoping that everybody will like what I'm doing. As you know, many people watch this video every night, my videos, my live streams, for primarily one thing. They want my macro view, probably looking forward to a rant or something like that. I know a lot of you enjoy those, and I get a lot of good comments around the channel about that. But that's really what I do really good. I'm a good technician. There's a lot of other things that I'm going to be focusing in on the channel as we go forward. And I think you're going to really like what I'm going to do. But there will be some changes. This week will probably be the final week for live streams every night. I'm going back to produced videos, got a different setup that we're working on, got a lot more power in this environment that I'm sitting here at. And so we're going to go back to that, the videos are be between 12 and 20 minutes, and then there'll be different content coming out as well, educational, all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be a little bit different here. And I will touch on the macro view, at least some of the primary indices, just to give a very quick overview once we get into the new format. So once again, you folks have been really loyal with me and going through all of these changes that I went through, going from produced videos to live streaming, all that. I'll still do some live streamings, but they'll have a lot more, I guess, meaning when I do them. So let's get into talking about tonight's video. It's interesting because I posted here, does the debt ceiling really matter? And I argue that it doesn't, okay? And I know that there's not going to be any default and all of that stuff. And Janet Yellen was running around last weekend telling everybody, they can pay the bills to the 15th of June. There's corporate taxes come in 15th of June. There's more money available. This is the typical game, folks. And now they're talking about, a temporary extension, which they've done every time. McCarthy goes, that would be a failure if we did that. This is just all noise and rhetoric. And what is happening, though, and I'll get into detail in talking about this, is that what's going on is the backdrop is these large cap stocks keep driving this market. We saw it today. And guess what? The bank stocks, I told you guys 3 weeks ago, these things were a buy. This is the beginning, not the end. And you're going to see the Russell continue to come alive as there's a lot of those stocks in there. And I told you that was going to be the game to play as we go forward. Yesterday, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Meta, once again, like I said, these are the stocks that are moving this market. So I want to talk about something. I was doing some research. Believe it or not, I actually had a few minutes to do that. And one of the things that I came across this last weekend was that I was looking at all the top end stocks. I'm going to do a bit more analysis, but the Apples and the Teslas and all the top end weighted parts of the S&P and the NASDAQ. And these stocks are not going to the moon, but they're not going down for a while, folks. This is going to continue to be a very strong market, and it's going to defy a lot of people what they think is going to happen here. And you'll see when I go through the database here in a minute, those of you that have Wavetech, you already know what's going on from the standpoint of the rotation that we're seeing in the database as well. So it's just a continuation of things. So here's the plan for tonight, folks. I'm just looking at my notes here. Let me just finish one thing before I go on. Let's look at the economics. Tomorrow, IHS Manufacturing and Services, PMIs on both of those expect to be slightly up is what I'm seeing here. And so new home sales come out 660,000. That's a down number. We have seen a little flattening off in the retail housing market, but not a lot. It's basically very stable. We do have earnings coming out as well. And, today, Monday, we had 220, but we look at 113. We got Lowe's coming out tomorrow. And on Wednesday, we got NVIDIA, a bunch of chips, a lot of tech stocks coming out on Wednesday. And Thursday, I'm looking here. Didn't write it down. So Friday, 117. We got the banks on Friday again. So to finish the week off, we've got the banks coming in, and most of these small banks. And by the way, if you're paying attention, PacWest Bank was up 19.6% yesterday. So the whole idea that there's a banking crisis, remember that story? No one's talking about that. The markets, I've said this for a long time, the markets can only basically, they can't chew gum and walk at the same time, right? So they're one thing at a time. So debt ceiling is all that's going on before. It just changes stories as we go forward. The banks were in vogue for a while. A bunch of the short sale guys got caught, and now they're off and trying to find a new game to play. So the algos have been pretty dormant, and as the consequence of that is volatility's been also very low. So we'll see how that all goes here. Just looking at a couple of my notes here. Yeah, so let's talk one more thing. I know I'm kind of all over the place, and this is going to be the good thing about doing the produced videos. They'll all be in context. It won't be bouncing around like this. But one of the things that is going to happen once we do get the debt ceiling solved, which it will be solved, they're going to have a shortage of cash. The Treasury is basically running pretty low on cash. If on a relative basis, it'd be like you've got $5 in the bank left is how it would feel. And maybe that's why Janet Yellen's running around saying whatever she's saying. I never thought she was smart, but I definitely don't think she's smart anymore. She's a lost soul. She's like everyone else in the Biden administration, it appears. And somehow she ran the Fed for all those years, but nothing happened. But anyway, this is the thing they're going to have to deal with, is they're going to have to replenish that bank account, and they're most likely going to go to T-bills, and they're going to have to load up the bills. We're talking, maybe we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars to get the bank account back up to snuff. Now, there will be corporate taxes, other things coming in, so it may not be as challenging as they would like you to think it is, but this is most likely going to be the scenario that we'll see. My guess is they kick the can down the road and they extend the deadline. Those of us that have been around a long time, this is a typical game that goes on from that standpoint. So you really don't see most of these situations end up, we got a deal, we walk out shaking hands. Especially, it would be, I think, interesting to be on behind the doors on this one, because I can't imagine these folks are getting along very well. But it's definitely a charade from the standpoint that they're trying to keep the drama up. I'd say GOP is trying to keep the drama up, as is the Biden administration. And what I really think is probably going on is they're trying to get a tax raise out of this thing. That is, the Democrats they want a tax raise. They keep bringing up revenue. Well, revenue equals taxes. And McCarthy's going, it's not about revenue, right? It's about spending. So they don't want new taxes. These are all code words, and I'm sure all of you know this stuff. But this is really going to be, they're going to roll this ball down the road. My guess is they probably do an extension, and then we deal with this in late September or November or something like that. I'm not sure how far they could roll it down, but they're going to have to deal with it before year end. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's video. Let's go through the Wavetech database and get into all the rest of the stuff here. All right, so this is the daily database. Since I wasn't live last night, I'll talk about the weekly here in a minute. But the daily database is at 52.72, and that is up from, if you recall, we printed all the way down to 41.97, which is right at that marker at 42. It rallied all the way from there, and the entire sequence that we've seen is just a continuing getting traction. Now, just for tomorrow, we have 1,095 buy signals, 228 sells. Looks like we still have positive rotation. You'll see when I go through the technicals tonight that there's also a continuation pattern that's set up here, both on the daily and the hourly charts. So let's take a look here at the weekly real quick, and the weekly is at 56.52. It was actually down just a little bit, and we did see this was for yesterday though, 1,561 buys, 1,794 cells, which downticked us a bit from around 61, down a few percent here, down to 56.52. Magic number, you folks know, 42%. This is still looking forward here quite a bit, and I'm just going to bring you over to another page here fairly quick. And what we're looking at is I can't quite get, this is kind of blowing up, so it's at the wrong scale, but this is the current duration here on the weekly is only right now about 20% fulfilled, and there's normally 205. Right now, the current number of duration is only 44 days of this 205. So there is still roughly 106, let's say close to 140, 160 days looking forward, which is the better part of 6 months for this rotation to occur. Now they can derail at any time, but most likely there are a substantial amount of trends in play right now. I suspect we're at 88, 70, about half of the database is long. If we can we got up to about 64, 65%. If we get up above 68, then what we'll see is a secondary rotation, and it will continue on the upside. We'll take a look here at the hourly chart as we always start off, and hourlies are actually fairly stable here from the standpoint of the PPMs. You can see there's still a little bit of an angle on the upside here from the standpoint of the moving averages. The value to look at is 42.12. Yesterday's action was interesting in that we were printing down around a 42 handle, very close to it. We had some Fibonacci targets and things here, but we did get last evening. So just remember, these times here are Pacific time. So this is 3 a.m. New York time. We got an STX buy signal, and the market just started to move up from there right in through the session. So we're looking at, and I take that back, that was at noon today when that happened, at the end of the session. So we're looking at this thing continuing to rise up into this pattern. Go over to the daily chart. This is where the story's being told again. If you remember, the PPMs were being projected that we were going to see some lower prices, and we just did not get those kind of numbers. As a matter of fact, the algo started to turn around a little bit, and we did see everything start to get this upward slope again. PPM 1 is not quite in trend mode, but it's at 0.19. PPM 2 is 0.6, and PPM 3 is 0.12. And it looks like we should remain above this 10-period moving average. That's down a ways, folks. That's at 41.71. It looks like we should stay above this pattern. I'll bring up the weekly since I didn't get a chance to talk about. Let me go back 1 second before I go out of here. Let's look at the market grid on the far right. Let's look at today's market grid, and we're looking at S1 41.95, R2 42.15, and that we've already been above that 40 so far. We've got a 06 low and a 22 high for tonight's range. So we've already printed not quite an S1, and we're printing an R2. So R3 is 36 and 46 on the extreme. And the other thing that I talked about the other day is we have these new Fibonacci targets here, 42.22, which have been satisfied, 42.65, and 42.91. So it's it looks like based on the algos, everything that's going on, we should continue to climb along this line. But I still don't see that parabolic expansion here. And so I guess that's why I'm continuing to argue that the debt ceiling isn't going to mean much. And if you think about it, what does the debt ceiling really mean? What it means is they continue to spend money, okay? And I guess that's a good thing. We don't default. And the default is even questionable, even if they didn't get it solved. It would be interesting to see what they've done, what they would do, and who wouldn't get paid and all that kind of stuff. They have lots of, I'll use Powell's word, tools, which to deal with these situations. So it's not as dire as Yellen is trying to put out there. That's part of the negotiation part and trying to get market sentiment or public polls to be afraid of these type of situations. Let's move on to the NASDAQ. Here's that famous line I was showing you. Look at this angle of attack here. And maybe in broadcasts as we come up, maybe I'll do just a video as we go forward on maybe just looking at some of these top 5, top 10 stocks real quick. But if I brought up Tesla, all of the big tech stocks that are moving the markets right now, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Meta, all of these look almost identical to this. This is just going to continue to see this market move higher. And the momentum of, if you look at PPM1, 0.50, PPM2, 0.31, PPM3, 0.23. So we're in trend mode across the board. And so this is just going to continue to move upward in this range. We got the RTX sell signal back on the 18th. The next day we were down, then we were up. We basically, typically what will happen after one of those, we'll go into a sideways mode. Unless we're at some really crazy extreme, typically they go sideways to down, and then they resume that upward trend again. And there was a point, I think, on the S&P where we had back-to-back RTX sell signals. So those will happen too in these strong markets. But we look at the algos here, they're projected, just looking at, I'm going out to the 30th, and it's still staying above the second derivative, still in trend mode at least a plus 40. And that's a very strong market. So this is not going away. This trend is going to continue. So don't start getting too negative here and trying to get pick a top or something here, because it's a ways away. Based on what I'm seeing here, I'm just going to flip over to a weekly chart, and this is even stronger. And this is the really interesting is what we're seeing here is if you look at the algos, even though they're flattening out at a point, basically at a 1.0. So 0.25 is a trend. This is 4 times the strength of the trend. This upward slope that we're seeing here is very dynamic, and we're already printing the fib target 1 on the weekly, which is 14,005. And let's see what we get to yesterday. 13,979. The other day we printed 13,960. So I think we exceed this number. Whether it happens today, it should happen in the next couple sessions. And I would expect to see us bounce off this line a few more times. So if you use these lines and use the market grid to buy down at the say S3 to the STX level, if you see those numbers, as long as this trend and these indicators are set like this is how you're going to be able to trade this thing. So you trade up at the upper end and you probably trade out, but I'd be more careful about getting out of this trade than trying to buy the dip if it happens. And let me make that clear. So I would play the trend. If you're long and you got the trade on right, you stay with it. And if you don't have it, then you look for a buy point against somewhere near this 10-week moving average, which right now is 13,347 with the last trade here at 13.9. So that's like a 600-point decline. That's a pretty big move. And I don't expect to see that based on the configuration. All right, so here's the Russell. This Russell chart just continues to go sideways. I remember somebody telling me a month ago, 5-6 weeks ago, this is a bear flag. It's going to collapse. It's going to zero. This goes along with the lines with the banking crisis and everything else. So we are coming really close here to the 200-week. This is the weekly chart we're at. 200-week moving average is getting very close here. And I think we get above that. You see 3 Fibonacci targets above here. Let me bring those up on the far right. You can see them. They are let me just make sure we got the right number. Yeah, 1989, 2098, and 2165. This would be a pretty amazing move just to get to Fib target 1. But once we get above that 200, you should start to see some acceleration. And I would expect, this is a weekly chart again, so in the next couple of weeks, we should see that acceleration here. And whether or not it can actually play catch up with the NASDAQ or not and outperform it, I'm not sure. I've been talking about that for a while, but it doesn't seem to come into play yet. It just looks like we're continuing to follow. But I think if the banks continue to do well, and we've got bank earnings, there's coming out during the week, but there's more of a concentration on Friday. That'll be an interesting explanation mark at the end of the week. Take a quick look at the daily, and you'll see here that the daily has that upward slope. We're on almost the 200-day and 200-week are very similar values right now. And we have some short-term fib targets over here, and they are 1813, 1843, 1862. So we're coming right into those numbers here. And look at the PPMs. They're all positive and turning up. So everything that, I've talked about this box formation here. We've been in a sideways range going back for a year on all of these markets. So we're trying to work our way out of this pattern. Remember these fib numbers I talked about on the treasuries? Here we go. The fib targets were 367, 372. We printed yesterday, or on Friday, I guess it was. Let me get these numbers up here so you can see them on the far right. Those numbers are, we got up to 372, which was exactly that fib target, and then we printed 372.8, so we maintain those values. It looks like right now that we have a potential to start a little pullback, and we should come back in toward this 200 and this 10-period moving average. You see the crossover happening. I suspect that, we still got some upward momentum. We should start to roll in, maybe come back over here to around 368, maybe 365 range again down the road. But it looks like we're pretty close to a peak here. And so we hit all the fib targets. Everything's going on. This is daily. Let's take a look at the weekly, because there were some crazy numbers coming out of the weekly. And a lot of times I talk about that the weekly trends are dominant. And this would be the case here, is that what we're seeing is that we've got a fib target here at 4% on the 10-year. I've been talking about all of these yields starting to rise a bit across the board. So we're not going to see lower yields. And those 3 1/4 prints, if you got this, to sell your bonds at 3 1/4, you did an amazing job. Okay, that was the best trade you're going to have for a while, because I think we continue to move back towards 4, and ultimately the fib target 2 is probably in play at 425, 430 in that range on the 10-year. Let's take a quick look at the weekly on the 2-year. And we have similar targets on the fib, not price-wise, but similar upward targets from the formation standpoint. And what we're looking here is 460, 5%, 5 1/4 is the extreme. But I think we easily print this 460 number on the 2-year, and that should be, I think, almost a given. So there's a Dr. Given for you, that we're going to those levels. These upward slope in the weekly moving averages on the 2-year are going to keep things pretty buoyant on the upside on yields. So 4 1/4, around 4 1/4, 420, maybe 418 is about the maximum downside in this pattern for the next several weeks. So crude oil has been, this is a weekly chart here, just been locked in the same range for the last couple of weeks. We're continuing at 72.39. The high we printed here is 72.62. Last week we printed up to 73.58. We've got some decent downward pressure coming in right here at this right at this range right here around 75. This 75.25, 75.50 is still a substantial amount of resistance up here, and we traded all the way up into this pattern weeks ago before we dipped down, got an STX buy, and then off we go here back into these ranges. So we're going to have resistance between 75.50 up to, we'll call it 80, but 79.50, 79.30 should be where this continues. Let's take a quick look at the short term, at the daily. So daily looks like the algos are still kind of drifting lower. We're probably going to stay sandwiched between the 10 and the 40, and the 21's buried in there as well. They're almost the same value. The 10 is 71.62, 72.47 is the 21, and 75.60. So everything kind of points to a cap around 75.50, and we should maintain these values right around this 10-pair moving average, 71, maybe print down to 70.5, but it's going to want to hang around this 71 area. All right, gold is next. Interesting. Remember that number? 1965. Here we are at 1964. We printed 62 overnight. The other day we printed down to 56 and down to 54. And I think it was FF, said that Kitco said this couldn't happen or something like that, if I recall. And this is happening. And look at these downtrend. This is a big downtrend. Got to punish Peter Schiff. There's my Peter Schiff comment. So we got to punish Peter Schiff. This is a big downtrend on this daily. This is a massive, and we're at a minus 0.39. So same thing with the upside, folks, on these PPMs. A negative 2.5 or greater is trend mode, which what that means is that 10-pair moving average now only has only a 40% chance for it to go above that value, which is right now at 2013, and it's declining every day. or the inverse of that is a 60% chance it will not go above it, right? So the probabilities are slanted for us to continue in this downtrend, and it looks like some of the acceleration on PPM 2 and 3 is getting really strong. So we could end up coming, I'm just looking at this thing, we could easily get back toward the maybe a 200-day moving average, 1830, 1840. So that may be a thing. So it's interesting that we're going to need to get something to come out of here, some kind of reversal pattern or something to signal something different. Otherwise, this isn't quite a death pattern, but it's pretty substantial on the downside. Let's go to the weekly just quickly. The weekly is kind of a death pattern, looking like we could easily come down to this 40-period moving average, which is 1850, 1835. There's some decent support here. PPM2 is still positive 0.34. So 1940 is going to be your support. And typically what will happen is you'll get sandwiched between the 21 and the 10 period simple averages here. And then ultimately this angle of attack that's being projected on the predictive SMA, then there's going to be a crossover and we're heading down toward that rising 40. And the 40 is up at 0.27, so it's trend mode. So if it does get there, it's a major buying opportunity. But for now, looks like we just crossed through the second derivative on PPM2, and this suggests that we will challenge this 21-period moving average at 1940, but it has enough upward momentum to hold initially. Okay, we'll do Bitcoin finally here. And as I've been telling you, the patterns in Bitcoin and gold are very, very similar. As I know it's been referred to as digital gold, but it looks like we've already traded down toward this 200-period moving average. That's 26,280. The low 26,540 has held so far. This is a weekly Bitcoin chart. But this downtrend that's being forecasted is pretty brutal. We're already in trend mode at minus 0.35. So that means that simple 10 on a weekly 28,000, we'll call it 28,100 is going to be a substantial resistance point, and we probably get sandwiched between the 200, 26.2, we call it 26.3, just round numbers, to the 10, which is 28,000 on the upside. So we probably get sandwiched in there. And then ultimately, though, it looks like the market wants to come lower, just like it does in gold. Okay, folks, that's going to do it. I appreciate everybody showing up tonight. A couple comments. I'm just looking here at some of your comments. Yeah, so Gil, I will. The specs on the new equipment are insane, but I will take you through a tour. The monitors are up, and just not probably after Wednesday. I'll have the systems already burn in, ready to go, but I'm just waiting. I've just got to put some more things together. And when you see this little setup here, it's walls of monitors, so it's pretty cool. But I would say, I hate to say something, T-Mac. I would say this is the goal. So everything I'm working on finishing the indicators that are going to be released, and it probably would be best because there's going to be for those of you that already bought the indicators, it could be these are a new set of indicators, completely new. I'm releasing something called Wavetech Signals. So there's going to be some signals. I've got a couple issues with one of them I'm working through right now, and hopefully I'll get that all hammered out here very soon. But there's going to be a whole nother suite, and I have a lot of ideas of things that I can automate through TradingView. So we're even considering, it just depends on where this goes, but this will be a new suite. There's going to be an initial offering price discounted, and then there'll be a longer term at some point. The discount will go away. So I would say you're probably best to hang in there just for a little bit. I think it'll be within 2 weeks that this will be out there. And so we finished one of the projects today to be able to deliver them. So that's number one. And now it's just a matter of putting these next steps in play. So everything's coming together on that. Yeah, so I saw, Carly, you were making a comment about something that I'm not sure what it was, something about it's been fun hanging out. I don't know, somebody leaving or going on. Yeah, I'm just reading some of your comments here. Yeah, so that's something else. There's a question there that's talking about the Wavetech system and how it works. I am working on some things there. So the focus going forward is going to be Wavetech and indicators. The PortfolioXpert process is a little nuanced when it comes to utilizing that. It's next level. It's more expensive. So we're going to focus for the retail folks on Wavetech and the indicators as far as building the community out. As I said, my plan is on this channel is to start to kind of migrate into more of a macro view daily. I believe I'll be doing daily macro views with a touch of technicals, not at the level I just did. I'm not going to spend an hour anymore doing this. We'll see what I can put together. And like I said, I'm going back to produce videos, and we will be doing, we used to have so much fun, and you folks have been around the channel for years. We used to do these live streams on Wednesday. It was a lot of fun, do a 3-hour mega. I don't think I'm going to be able to do those, but I do think we'll be able to put together some live streams from time to time that will be very helpful as well. So I'm putting the schedule together. I was working on a lot of details this morning, but I really appreciate it. I think, we've got about 219 watching, and, we went from, tens of thousands of views down to, 3,000 to 5,000 every day. And that's fine. And listen, it's not about the views. It's about the quality of the views and the people that are here. I've met some of the most amazing people I've ever met through this YouTube channel. So, it's special to me. It means a lot. And I believe what I'm going to be able to provide, I need two things. I need to focus my time a little better. And I had the live room. I closed the live room. I've had to reconfigure a lot of things in my life. And I have some personal things that are going on with a family member as well. And I've got a lot on my plate. So I'm here, and we're going to continue to participate. I'll do live streams throughout this week. And as we go through things, once this place is done, then that'll be off my mind. Like I said, tomorrow and Wednesday are big days. I'm thinking I put everything to bed finally at that point. So I'm pretty close, but it's like everything. It was supposed to be done last Friday, and here we are at Tuesday, coming into Tuesday. So anyway, it's the way it works, right? Never gets done as you hoped it would get done. So thanks again, everyone. The real, just real quick, I'm going to answer a question that Rick just put up there. I have been a TradeStation user and am a TradeStation user. In fact, there's user studies in TradeStation that I developed back in the 90s, and I love TradeStation. It's a primary tool for me to trade. And like I said, I've been literally on it since, I believe, 1991 they just came out of being system writer, and I actually was the number one guy. I actually coined. Bill Cruz and his brother were original founders of the company, and Bill and I had a glass of wine in San Francisco in 1991, and I told him I wanted to write code and sell systems into TradeStation, which I did for years, and I was the very first solution provider that was out there. I coined the phrase solution provider, and we did a lot of business, and it was a great time. Still love the platform. Been through every iteration since 1991. My block number is like 1,300 and change. I won't give you my block number, but it's very like the first 1,300 people to get a block. They used to have an old block that you had to put in the back of the computer. So I've been around that long. So the unfortunate part is they closed down the App Store, which I was going to put these out there on. And there's a lot of issues with delivering things to TradeStation right now. And I'd love to revisit it. Right now, TradingView is the easiest. You can hook your TradingView platform into your TradeStation account and trade from there. I've never done it. I don't know how efficient it is, but I know you can do that. You can also bring in level 2 if you do that, a bunch of other things if you hook your platform together with TradingView and TradeStation. So that might be an option for you. But I think if you're a TradeStation user, that's probably the right thing for you. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else out here. Yeah. Listen, there's still going to be daily true streams. Okay. So I see your comment, FF. We just won't spend, what do we got here? 48 minutes. We won't spend 48 minutes to do it. You're still going to get this content like it is. It's still going to be that. So it just will be much more focused. And I need to be out of the business of being over here. Right now, it's almost 8 o'clock in the evening. I know a lot of you, it's later at night, but I just don't need to be doing this at this time. I have to, there's a number of things causing this change. Some of it is desire, and some is through need, just because of some obligations that I have to keep up. So anyway, just know I'm doing the best I can to get a lot of really good content. And I think there's going to be some really cool stuff. We went through a list of things that I want to talk about. So you can see I'm in the studio I just rebuilt. Behind me is like a really nice sitting area. I'm hoping to have people up here do interviews. I'm going to try to meet Kevin out here, and I know, and see if he can, wants to come out. We'll do the inverse interview here with him instead of what he did with me when I was in LA. And so anyway, we'll see how all that works out with time. And I've got some other folks. I've been getting into a little Twitter scrimmage with my buddy Hugh Hendry, which I respect. I just I had to call out some stuff today, and he was gracious, and I think I was probably a little harsher than I needed to be. So I'll reach out to Hugh and let him know that. Yeah, no, it's not a background. Yeah, check it out. It's not a background. Curtains. That's funny. No background. All right. So, yeah, anyway, I'm having trouble with the autofocus. I have a new camera in place, and that is not focusing right. But no, real room here. A lot of really cool stuff. So just looking here. Yeah. So Ronald, that's basically what I'm planning on doing is doing a macro view on a daily macro view, and my front end. So it would be 10, 12, 15 minutes. I get on a rant. That's fine. Put that out, and I'm going to figure out. Listen, since we're just chatting here, having a chat, this is why I put the indicators out here so you folks can have these tools, understand how to use them. I plan on taking some time out and doing some after market sessions, which we're calling Market Mind kind of deal, where mastermind platform where we can go out and do some teaching, interacting, Q&A, do a presentation with some Q&A, and we're putting together for Wavetech and for all the products. So we're going to be doing a lot of things differently, primarily during normal market hours. So like I said, I'm not going to be over here in the studio late at night like I have. I literally leave and come back and at around 6:15 or so every night. And I go live at 7. So I come back over here. But I appreciate everybody just kind of hanging out. Yeah, John. So yeah. There are some videos. If you've been to PortfolioXpert, there's some videos there, some really basic stuff. We used to do live training back in 2020, probably into 2021. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to be doing some stuff, so hang in there. And there's quite a few things that I'm hoping to put together here fairly soon. I just need, believe it or not, this primarily the point of these videos and the reason why I've done them, I guess we'll just keep chatting here so people watch this, they'll know a little bit more about me, is our institutional accounts. We still handle tens of billions of dollars in the markets, working with advisory groups. And the whole thing that I've done for a long time is I used to write daily commentary for markets, kind of a macro view. Here's what happened, just what I basically do here. And this all came out of this daily video idea, came out of 2020 in February of 2020. I was writing commentary one night, and what happened was I was sitting there, it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I wasn't done. And I thought, this is ridiculous. This is going to take me all night just to write up what happened that particular day. This was in the collapse of the pandemic. And so I decided then, turn on the screen, talk about the markets and do that. I started doing that every day. I told all of our institutional clients when they logged in to get the commentary, there was a link to YouTube. And all of a sudden I went from 600-700 views a day to 20,000. And the channel exploded. And here we are 3 years later, 3 year plus. And so that's how we got here. And I've embraced the community, and I think it's really awesome. I want to do a much better job because I have, like I said, we were going through a whole bunch of topics and things, little 10-minute, maybe 20-minute videos that are going to bring in a lot of perspective on how to use things. I want to do one on reading the order book and price discovery, for instance. These are things that will stick with you for a very long time in understanding price movement and how markets move. I want to put a really nice video together. I've been talking with people for years about that stuff. So that is something that I think that will be really, really helpful. Listen, I'm a 70-year-old guy. I'm very active, and I plan on doing this for a long time. I plan on, I tell Dr. Jim Baker, who's 12 years, just about 11 years older than me, when I grow up, I want to be just like Dr. Baker. I want to be like Jim Baker. I know he watches every night, so I want to grow up and be just like him. He's an amazing guy. And I just, I think by keeping your mind sharp and doing this stuff, if I sat around and did nothing all day, played golf or something stupid, then you'd probably lose. I'd probably go crazy. And that's what my wife said for years. Like, if you retire, you will go crazy like within 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and she's absolutely right. So you got to listen to them. Let me just see. I'll do talk about a couple more things. Yeah. So So the indicators were developed in TradeStation. Okay, they are in TradeStation. I have no way to securely deliver them because of what happened to the App Store. And there are some other ways to do it, and I would have to have a fair amount of people wanting that to go out and pursue that, because of what people don't. I saw somebody on channel one night, why don't you just give everything for free to all of us little guys? The reality is it takes a lot of effort to get these things out there and maintain them. And there's those of you on here probably send emails asking questions and trying to deal with stuff. So, and we're a small group. There's not tens and hundreds of people around here. So, we're juggling all the time. So just know that. I see FF4. Yeah, Ronald, thank you, man. That's really cool. Just taking a look here. Yeah, FF, I do appreciate. See, this is what I'll say here tonight is that I would like to see. I would love the opportunity to meet so many of you and do something. So I'm going to throw something out here. Those of you hanging around, we still have 210 hanging around. Let me know. I'm thinking that a cool place to do a conference would be in Vegas. I know there's a few distractions in Vegas, but it's an easy place to get to. The airlines and everybody make it real cheap and easy to get there. Hotels can be reasonable. They used to be, not anymore, but they're still somewhat reasonable. And the venues are abundant to be able to do something. So I don't know how many people we could get, but if you think that would be a cool idea, I've been kicking that around because I think that would be fun. Maybe this fall. We're in May, so if we're going to do something like that, it needs to get organized pretty PDQ. So, but that I would love the opportunity. It was unfortunate. I was in Singapore a few weeks ago, and one of the folks from that has been a Wavetech user for years, unfortunately had to leave the country, and we just missed each other by literally one day. It was absolute shame that we didn't get together. But I've met people when I was in Europe and all over the place. So, whenever I get the opportunity, I love meeting you guys. So I think I've got a fair amount of people maybe down in the Phoenix Valley. So maybe I should organize a coffee meeting one time. I know Bo would love that. And I would, maybe we can put something like that together, and we'll put something on YouTube or something, or put it out on Twitter or something. We'll figure it out. That might be kind of fun. Yeah, just looking at last comment. This is kind of fun chatting with you guys. Wish I could hear your voices. Something we could do sometime is we could do a Twitter space, and I could bring people up, and we could everybody could hear. That would be an easy way to do that. And I'll be glad when I get my autofocus fixed. Anyway, folks, I think this is it. We talked for about 12 minutes or so. A lot of fun here. Let me look at something here. I just noticed. Yeah, so that would be the other thing. I see somebody commenting. We could do like a live link. We could have, if you can't make it, we could actually maybe have the conference stream. That would be super fun. And I've got some interesting folks I'd love to have come on, and I think we could have a good time. That's pretty funny. Last time I was in Vegas, I swore never go again. Treated like a criminal in my own country trying to get from point A to B. Interesting. Sorry about that, man. Yeah, that we could do that. That would be really simple. And I think this is something else, and I may play some games with this and figure it out. Twitter has started something. They've got Twitter subscriptions now. If you have a blue check mark, which I do, that I bought, you can now stream, or you can now post up to 2-hour videos on Twitter. So what I've been doing is putting the links to the YouTube, this broadcast on there. And what I've been doing that gets done every night when I do a video. But it'd be kind of interesting to actually post the video, right? So that might be kind of interesting. Or maybe we were working on some shorts for a while. You know, it's a work in progress. After 3 years, I've seen the channel grow pretty quick, flatten out whatever's happened, and then see the views all over the place. You know, I think I've got quite a few of you that watch me every day, and I really appreciate it. I really do. So I want to really make this content so it's much more far-reaching. Like I said, understand just a lot of things that if I don't put it out there, there's going to be a unique perspective not given out there from people with the experience like I have. There's not a lot of us out here. I mean, a bunch of guys that I was on the floor with, they're gone, man. They're gone. Okay, I'm 70. These guys, some of these guys, when I came on the trading floor, they've been gone for a long time. And so there's one of the things I also want to do in Vegas. I'm trying to get together, and this might be a really cool panel to do and record it. Maybe I'll have to call one of my buddies and ask him what he thinks about this. Just kind of spitballing this thing a little bit. But I have a group of guys, all floor traders, so we have all these stories, and we've been talking for about 6 months, getting together in Vegas, getting cameras, all the different camera angles, and just basically recording everything and having a really high def, like a really cool recording. That might be fun to like do a panel at a conference or something. That might be a lot of fun. And so there's a lot of folks that I think I would invite to come to that. So I won't drop any names, but it would be fun. Anyway, folks, finally, let's do it. Let's end this. Great talking. Thanks for all the questions and everything here. I think we'll go through this week, and like I said, by the end of the week, I'm hoping to be able to really give you some real guidance on what's going to happen here. But it's going to be good. I guarantee you that. I'm doing my best to really bring out some amazing content. So thanks again. New cameras, new digs, everything. So we'll call it quits. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time. Thanks for killing Levi.